In February 1995, the oldest merchant bank in Britain was sold. The price was £1. Not 1 billion, not 1 million, £1. The kind of coin you find in a jacket pocket. And the reason it was worth £1 was one person, 28 years old, working alone in Singapore, while his managers in London had no idea what he was doing. Here is what I need you to think about. Barings Bank had been operating since 1762. It had financed the Napoleonic Wars. It had helped fund the Louisiana Purchase. It had survived 2 world wars and the Great Depression. So how does one person in one office in one city end all of that in 3 years? Hold that question, because the answer is not what you think. Nick Leeson was not a senior banker. He was not a veteran trader with decades of experience. He was 28 years old. He had grown up in a council estate in Watford, England. He had joined Barings as a clerk at 22. He was smart, driven, and he had one quality his managers loved. He got results. In 1992, Barings sent him to Singapore to run their futures trading operation on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange. And here is where the story turns. In Singapore, Leeson had a level of control over his own operation that should never have existed. He was both the person making the trades and the person responsible for checking and reconciling those trades afterward. That combination, one person controlling both sides of the same operation, is the single most basic control failure in finance. It is the thing every institution is supposed to prevent. At Barings Singapore, nobody prevented it. When Leeson's early trades started going wrong, he did what the structure allowed him to do. He hid the losses. He opened an error account number 88888, that his managers in London could not see. Every loss went into 8888. Every statement sent to London showed only the profitable trades. On paper, Leeson was one of Barings' best performers. In Singapore, he was quietly accumulating one of the largest hidden losses in banking history. To cover the growing hole, he made bigger bets, each one designed to generate enough profit to close the gap, each one making the gap larger when it failed. By the end of 1994, account 8888 held £200 million in losses. Barings sent him a bonus of £130,000. They had no idea. January 17, 1995. The Kobe earthquake strikes Japan. Leeson had bet heavily that the Japanese stock market, the Nikkei, would remain stable. The earthquake sent it into free fall. In days, his losses multiplied beyond anything account 8888 could absorb quietly. He kept betting, doubling down, trying to trade his way out of a hole that was now mathematically impossible to escape. By the time Barings management in London finally looked closely at the Singapore accounts, the losses in account 8888 had reached £827 million. Barings Bank had £440 million in capital. The bank owed nearly twice what it was worth. On February 23, 1995, Nick Leeson left a note on his desk that read simply, "I'm sorry," and disappeared. He fled to Malaysia, then Brunei, then Frankfurt, where German police arrested him at the airport. On February 26, 1995, Barings Bank filed for insolvency. It was sold to the Butch Bank ING for £1. So how does one person do this to a 233-year-old institution? Not through sophistication, through the absence of the most basic oversight. Nobody in London had questioned why one person controlled both sides of the same trading operation. Nobody had asked why the Singapore office needed so much cash to cover its positions. Nobody had audited account 8888. The controls that should have caught this in weeks allowed it to run for 3 years. Leeson was extradited to Singapore. He was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. He served 4 years. He was released in 1999. The managers in London who allowed one person unchecked control of an entire operation, not one of them was ever charged with a criminal offence. 233 years, one account, one note on a desk, £1. Next on Mindframe, the largest Ponzi scheme in human history, $65 billion, 40 years, thousands of victims across 3 continents. And the man running it was one of the most respected figures on Wall Street, former chairman of NASDAQ, trusted by banks, charities and celebrities. Nobody suspected him for 40 decades. Nobody. Follow Mindframe. New story every day.